So hi, thank you so much for joining us for the Harbor College Transfer Center workshop on applying to CSUs for fall 2021 admission. My name is Ms. Natalie Parra and I'm a counselor here at the Transfer Center, and I'm going to be working with you along with the rest of our wonderful transfer team to support you on your transfer journey as it takes you from application season to application updates, all the way to sending your transcript and being at the university next fall. So getting started, whether you're with us on IGTV or live with us in person, or you are watching on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us. When do you apply for transfer? Now, if you want to start at the university next year and you think this is going to be your last year at Harbor College, you're going to want to apply this fall, October 1st to December 4th. Now, this year is a special year that we have this December 4th special extension for students to be able to apply until then. Normally, it's only until November 30th, but this year the Cal State's made an exception and they're giving our students more time to submit their applications, which is wonderful. Winter and spring deadlines are also there for future in case any student wants to apply for a future semester. Our spring deadline just passed. It was this August. Winter also passed in summer. The application fee for admission is $70 for each Cal State campus. And if students qualify for a fee waiver, you can apply for up to 4 CSU campuses for free. And this will also, we encourage our students to apply broadly to increase their chances of admission. So, are you eligible to apply for admission? That's a question a lot of my students have for me. I'm glad to answer that for you. So if you are going to have your 60 CSU transferable units and your completion of Golden 4, which includes oral communication, for example, Com 101, 121 are a couple popular ones. English 101 is our written communication. Sometimes my students take English 101X or Y, but an English 101. Critical thinking, a lot of my students like English 102, 103, philosophy 6. Sometimes they'll take journalism 105. But one of those classes for critical thinking and transfer level math. When you complete those 4 classes with C's or better and your 60 transferable units and you have a 2.0 grade point average or higher with 30 units of GE, grade of C or better, that means you're eligible to apply. Now, do these classes have to be done at the time that you submit your application? No, they have to be done at the end of the spring 2021 semester or fall 2021 admission. The great thing about that is that as long as you have all those grades in at the end of spring semester, you're good to go. And we're on to the university from there. So some documents that you're going to need for your application include the following. You're going to need unofficial transcripts from every college and university you've ever attended, because you have to put all of those into your application. If you have a social security number, you're also going to need to input your social security number into the application as well. You will also need to include your citizenship status, annual income, and if your parents, if you are a dependent of your parents, you will need to include your parents' income. If you are independent, you would just put your own income. We'll go over whether a student is dependent of their parents or independent to themselves also in this workshop. Additionally, you will need a method of payment, whether it be credit card or PayPal. It is not needed if you're eligible for the fee waiver, however, so they wouldn't take payment information from you if you are eligible for the fee waiver. And EOP applicants, you will need your parents' employment background information, and you will also need 2 recommenders to include. So you want to get started thinking about who you'd like to add as a recommender, and you have to have their email address so you can input their email contact information for the application. The next thing, getting started. So in order to apply to the Cal States, you're going to log in on the website. You're going to do http://www.calstate.edu/apply. You could take a screenshot of that if you want to. It's also going to be linked down below if you're watching on YouTube. However, it's not a typo. It really has a number 2 in there. You can also Google Cal State Apply, and it will also appear just like this for you. The next thing you're going to want to do is select a term. So the term that we're going to be applying for in this workshop is fall 2021. Next, you want to create an account or log in. So if you already happen to create an account, sometimes my students do this early, that's fine, you can log in. If you haven't created an account, you're gonna wanna click on this create an account button. The Harbor College Transfer Center just so happens to have an account that we use as a sample for our students too. The next thing, some important icons on the application. This little question mark here is a gold mine. That is where you get access to the FAQs and a chat function that you can chat with the Application Help Center to get support. This here, this is where your name will go. So that will appear right here. And when you click on this drop-down arrow, you'll be able to edit your personal information and extended profile. Additionally, your Cal State ID. This is important. This is like a serial number for you that they can use to identify you. So when you want to chat and ask for help, you can paste in your ID number and they'll be able to access your account. You also want to include your ID number whenever emailing or contacting a CSU campus with questions. They will refer to this ID number too. And the system will log out after prolonged periods of time. So you want to click the sign out button before exiting if you're on a shared computer and save. Okay, and so when you create an account, you're going to include your email address, name, phone number, contact information, and you're going to agree to the terms. The next thing is this, of course, you can update this section as you wish before you hit submit. Highly encourage you to make sure that everything's correct before you submit, because if you make your email address, for example, with just one wrong character, and the Cal States, you know, they will send you emails to that email address. They will be sending to the wrong account, and email is their #1 form of communication with their students. So you want to make sure that you are inputting your email address correctly. The next thing is, of course, when we create an account, you're going to create your username, password. Once these little green little check marks are all checked off for these, that means your password is good to go and you just confirm it. You agree to the terms and conditions. Normally my students are not in Europe, but if you are in Europe, you're going to click that. If you're in either Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, or Switzerland, you're going to click yes, but this is very uncommon. And then next, the degree goal is the next important thing that you want to input correctly on your application. So 99.9% of our students are applying for their first bachelor's degree and they have not earned a bachelor's degree yet. And this is actually what Cal States prioritize. There are very few Cal States and majors within the Cal States that even allow students to get a second bachelor's degree. It's normally only special nursing programs at Cal States. But for our students, normally they're clicking first bachelor's degree and they are either earning an Associate of Arts for Transfer or Associate of Science for Transfer, also known as an Associate Degree for Transfer or ADT. And then if you're not earning an ADT, you'll be transferring from a community college or four-year institution. In your case, you click whichever one applies to you. You will indicate that there, and then you're gonna indicate if you selected that you're getting an ADT or AAT, you're gonna indicate that you're getting it from Harbor College and whichever program that you are in, which major, right? So you wanna make sure that you input that information. Now we have wonderful associate degrees for transfer to choose from. A lot of these actually, the major requirements can take as little as 1 year or 2 semesters to finish. For students who decide at the last minute that they want to get an ADT, you can meet with the counselor. We can try to help you plan. There are definitely a lot of benefits to having an ADT, including priority admission consideration to campuses that you apply to. The major would be deemed similar and you'd be guaranteed 2 years for graduation at the university that you transfer to, and you get a 0.1 GPA bump when you apply to the campus, as long as you select the matching major. So we have AATs in anthropology, communication, econ, English, history, journalism, kinesiology, music, philosophy, political science, psychology, Spanish, and studio arts. Additionally, we have ASTs in administration of justice, business admin, early childhood education, environmental science, math, and physics, and we have more to come in the future. Additionally, if you are not earning your ADT, that's okay too. You can still apply to transfer. We would love for you to get an ADT if it's an option for you and it's going to enhance your transfer opportunities. If your major is not listed in the previous slide though, that's okay. You can still apply to transfer. But in that case, you're gonna select that you're transferring from a community college or 4-year, and then you would just click that you're earning 60 or more units. This is because you want to make sure that you're applying as an upper division transfer. This year, some campuses are having lower division transfer opportunities for students. San Francisco State is one of them. However, the vast majority of our students are applying as upper division transfers. If you're applying as a lower division transfer, you also need to complete your high school records in there. And some students prefer to only be evaluated based on their community college record. So that's why a lot of our students prefer upper division as well. But yes, you include that you're going to have 60 or more units completed. They need to be done by the end of spring for fall admission, okay? Next thing, are you applying to return to the CSU campus which you previously attended and intend to complete the same degree? You want to read that carefully. So I'll use myself for an example. If I went to Cal State Northridge many years ago and I was a comm major there, communication major, and then I left, came to Harbor College, took classes, and I want to apply back to Northridge for the same communication major, then I would select yes here. This is not very common for my students. Sometimes it does happen, but that's the only time you would select yes here, okay? If you're trying to go back to the same campus that you previously went to with the same major. Next, U.S. military status. You're going to indicate here if you have or which affiliation you have with the military, if any. If you do not have affiliation with the military, you select not a member. Lastly, international students. If you are an international applicant, this does not mean necessarily any student with a background from another country. It does mean that it's students with an F1 visa or J1 visa. So if you have an F1 or J1 visa, you select yes here. At Harbor College, we specifically have F1 students. Next, profile continued. So as you can see, the little icons we were discussing earlier, the question mark, the bell, your ID number, and then your name up here, that's always going to appear at the upper right corner along with the sign out button. So when you click on your name down here, this little arrow, it'll show you the help center, your profile, extended profile, and sign out. If you forgot to add your ADT for some reason, your associate degree for transfer, you click on that drop down arrow and you click extended profile and you'll be able to re-enter your associate degree for transfer in the event that you happen to forget. Next, you want to start your application. So you're just going to click start, move the arrows through. You're going to pick which programs you want to apply for, and which program means which major at which campus. Now, if you put in that you want to apply to 2 different campuses for 2 majors, it's $70 per application. So it'll come out to $140 for 2. Now, you're not going to know if you qualified for the fee waiver until about 90% through the application. Once you're just about to hit submit, that's when they'll indicate to you if you qualify for the fee waiver or not. You're going to use the drop-down menu to choose a campus. So in this case, it was Cal State Long Beach was chosen as the example. You're going to do source. You should put campus, and you can use the plus button to add a major. So when you click on the plus button, that means you added the major. When you click undo, it takes the major away. Oh, and as you can see here, once you're done, you click I am done, review my selections, and you can always add more campuses later, remove campuses later. That's not a problem. Next, selecting a major that differs from your ADT. So if you have, let's say, I'll use myself for an example. Let's say I'm getting the communication studies major at Harbor College, that ADT, but for Northridge, I want to apply for the health sciences major, right? I just so happen to do all the requirements for that one, but I wanted an AAT in communication from Harbor. Then I would just indicate here, I understand that the program is not similar to your ADT. And then when you see this come up, you want to get in touch with the counselor because we can make sure that you are still meeting the requirements for that major that you're applying to that's different from your ADT. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that you are picking the correct program. Cal State Long Beach, for example, our kinesiology major is only a match to one specific program, and that is kinesiology at Long Beach with an emphasis in sports psychology and leadership. So if you picked exercise science at Cal State Long Beach under kinesiology, you'll get this message too. So when that's the case, you want to contact a counselor still because we need to make sure that we're planning your chem that you need, your physics, your pre-calculus, right? Things like that. So that's why it's important to get in touch with the counselor so we can help you. And then next is selecting an alternate major. So some campuses do allow you to select an alternate major. This is sometimes an option, not something required, but it's something nice that some students like to do if it's available to them. So that's a good case for a student. Let's say in this example, right, San Jose State. Let's say regardless, I really want to go to San Jose State, so I am willing to pick an alternate major. So I would pick an alternate major. However, we want to make sure that you pick an alternate major that you meet all the qualifications for too, because there's no point in selecting an alternate major when you don't meet any of the requirements for, then it's kind of like a throwaway. So you want to make sure that you pick an alternate major that you actually have all the classes done to get into. Next is reviewing the selections. So in this example, there are 4 campuses. That's why it comes out to $280. As you can see, the little green tab here is not completely full to the top where there's a check mark. Once it's full to the top with a check mark, it doesn't automatically submit the application for you. You still have to submit it yourself, but you can submit it. And then once you're done, you can just click on continue to my application. You could just check, make sure everything looks correct for you. If you need to delete a program, you can click on this trash can button. And then you just want to make sure Long Beach, Africana Studies, Fullerton, American Studies, right? So you want to read all of these and make sure you pick the correct one. Sometimes students can click on the wrong one on accident, or they find, oh, I accidentally picked the one that we're not deemed similar to. I want to just switch it to the one that we are deemed similar to. So we want to make sure that we're doing that for you. And that's why the Transfer Center is here. Please do not feel like you have to submit your application without somebody reviewing it for you. At the end of this workshop, of course, we want you to feel comfortable with working on the application, but it's also done with the intention of making sure that you feel comfortable asking questions to us so that way we can help you get those answered. Oh, and one last thing, you can add more than 4 applications if you want to. Some students like to add more than 4, but most of my students keep it between 2 to 4 applications normally, but it's whatever you prefer. Next is the application dashboard. So this is the dashboard where you will see that these little gray circles turn green as you complete components of the application. So these 3 boxes, personal information, academic history, supporting information, all of the campuses have access to look at what you put in these boxes. Now, when it comes to program materials, this is where each individual campus adds their own questions that you need to answer. So Fullerton will input their own materials that they want you to answer. So will Dominguez, so will Long Beach, so will San Francisco or Northridge. Any campus that you choose, they will have their own extra questions in this area, which is called the campus-specific program materials section. So in this example, we have Cal State Fullerton and Cal State Bakersfield right here as options for where the student applied to within the program materials section. So when we go to the Cal State Fullerton section, there's a home button. See how it looks like? You can see that it's Fullerton. And then there's questions here. Did you complete the general education section in the academic information? You want to make sure that you select yes. You do not want to put that no, you did not attend any U.S. regional accredited college university. You want to make sure you select yes. So each campus, and some of them will ask their own questions. So last year, Fullerton wanted all of our students to upload their transcripts in this section, an unofficial copy. This year, I didn't notice it yet, but I will check again. But I noticed for spring admission, they did not ask for that. Bakersfield might ask their own questions. Cal State LA, when they have their own tab here, if you apply to Cal State LA, they'll ask you if you finished the major prep, and they'll make you go into your transcript and pick out the major prep classes that you took. And that, you know, we're glad to help you as counselors, as CGCAs in our area. On our team, the Transfer Center, we love to help our students make sure that this section is good to go too, because this section is very critical because it's what the universities want to see done correctly. Next is the program materials section continued. So like I said, we want to review all those tabs, and you want to read through each section carefully. And then of course, there's a personal information quadrant. So this has each little tile with different things that you need to answer. So the personal information quadrant, it looks like this. When you click on my application, it will always take you back to the 4 squares from the beginning. And the personal information section, you want to make sure you answer carefully because it includes questions about residency, which will affect your tuition rates upon transfer. So you want to answer carefully, and we can help you review before submitting. So our students who are dreamers, you want to make sure you answer this section correctly because students are normally California residents. Additionally, students, if you've been living in California your whole life, there shouldn't be a reason why you're not considered a California resident. So you do want to be very careful because I've had students that they don't get this section reviewed and they kind of rush. And then afterwards, it's a big mess if they don't put their residency correctly because then they're coded as outside of California and they see this huge tuition rate when they get their acceptance letter and they're so confused, and then we have to contact the university and explain what happened. And there's a lot of paperwork to fill out proving that you are a resident when you've been one the whole time. So that's why we want to make sure that this does get done properly the first go around. Of course, there's also the release statement. So you want to make sure that you read through and check each box. These are essentially so that way the Cal States can contact you, and they need to contact you. They need to contact you to send your transcripts, to give you your acceptance letter, to ask you to fill out your supplemental application if you want to go to Long Beach, right? So you want to make sure you check these off so that way they have the authorization to move forward in the application with you. Next is the biographical information section. So as you can see, we just went through release statement, now biographical information. So this section, you want to complete each tile here. In this section, you want to make sure you do everything carefully. You include any names that were used in your education records. Sometimes my students change names, or maybe they get married, different changes in life. So if you have, let's say myself, for example, let's say if at one campus, I have my name as Natalia on all of my records, but then at Harbor, I have my name as Natalie. I want to make sure that I include, if I ever had alternate names, that I list that. So that way they're not confused later on. Well, why does she have Natalia on one campus and Natalie on the other? So that way it makes sense. Okay. You also might want to consider allowing text message authorization. And the other thing, they do ask if you have a statewide ID. So at our college, you can see here it asks for statewide ID. At our college, we don't issue statewide IDs to our students, so you can leave that blank. It's not required at all. And do not put your social security number in the statewide ID if you have one. Next is citizenship and residency, that subject that we were just talking about that needs to be done correctly. So if you're a citizen, you indicate that you're a citizen right here. My students who are AB 540, you can select none and make sure that you do so, okay? The next one, residency. So applicants living in California should select yes, regardless of citizenship. So if you are a Dreamer or AB 540 student, you still indicate that you're a California resident. Same thing for my US citizens. If you have been living here your whole life in California, that is just fine. Indicate that you have California residency, and that is to avoid being charged out-of-state tuition at the Cal State, which is thousands and thousands of dollars. Something we do not want to do. Okay, other information, we want to make sure that you include, if you have social security number, include the social security number. Language proficiency, that is actually a question a lot of the times students might, students do the language proficiency in the form of IELTS or TOEFL. If they are an international student on an F1 visa, it's required by the US Embassy. So if you want to indicate, your IELTS score, TOEFL score, you can include like that information there. Additionally, there's the military dependent status. So if you are military dependent, you want to indicate so here. You also want to indicate if you are in good academic standing with your last school attended. If your last school attended is Harvard College and you're in good standing, which most of our students are, then you indicate yes. They will also ask about CalFresh. They are big proponents of our students receiving support in the form of CalFresh. So if you want to learn more about that, you can definitely click on that. California Promise is another one. If you want to learn about that, you can click on it to learn more if you're interested in participating in California Promise. If you did Harbor Promise at Harbor College, then you definitely want to consider California Promise at Cal State. And then RN license, that's specifically for our students who just graduated from our nursing program and want to transfer into BSN at Cal State. Next is, how did you hear about CSU Apply? You want to click on the drop-down menu provided to make a selection. If you heard from the Harbor College Transfer Center, you can go ahead and click on your college or counselor, something like that, or however you learned about the application. Financial and parental information. You want to include your household income and size. Dependent students, they are born after January 1st, 1997. This is also students who are independent will answer yes to any of these questions here, and then they only include theirs. So if you're born before January 1st, 1997, if you are an active duty member or a veteran of the U.S. Armed Forces, you put that. You can put yes, you're independent, excuse me. So answering yes to any of these automatically qualifies you as an independent, excuse me, and you don't have to put your parents' financial information. As well as here, if you have, since turning 13, if your parents were either deceased, you were in foster care, or you were a dependent or ward of the court, then you are also classified as independent and you don't have to put any other information besides your own income. Okay? So if you answer yes to any of these, then you're good to go to only include your income. And then campus housing. If you're interested in campus housing, you indicate that yes, you are. If you're not, that's okay too. You can select no. Parents, education level, you can indicate here. Okay. Next, information you will need to share. If you're independent, meaning that you only include your financial information, you include your house, the people in your household. If you have children that are dependent of you, you can put that information, adjusted gross income from 2019, untaxed income and benefits, and then dependent students have to put their parent or guardian's household information from 2019, as well as their adjusted gross income and untaxed income and benefits. Next is the academic history quadrant. This contains questions within several tiles, including high schools attended, colleges attended, transcript entry, general education, Saturday's test, APPY scores, CLAP exam. That's very uncommon, but sometimes students have those. IB, for example, so you want to put those there. Okay, and when it comes to your colleges attended and your transcript entry, you want to make sure that you enter every single college. So if myself, for example, if I've been taking classes face-to-face and online, and recently I took some online classes at different campuses within our district. Let's say I took one class at Pierce, one class at Trade, one class at West LA. I need to list Harbor College, Pierce, Trade, and West LA, all as separate campuses that I attended. And on my transcript entry section, if I took English 207 at West LA College, then I need to add English 207 to West LA, not to Harbor College. And the way that you want to make sure that you do this correctly is you go into your portal and download a copy of your unofficial transcripts so you can make sure that you check everything off carefully. And once it's time to review your application, a counselor will also retrieve your transcripts again, verify everything's correct, just so that way there's no mix-up or confusion. Because once you hit submit, you cannot make any changes to the application. You have to contact each campus individually, letting them know that you made a mistake. Next, all the courses that you input on your transcript will include your non-transferable classes and transferable classes. They'll also include W's, substandard grades. If you got an academic renewal for a class, you put AR for the old grade. If you repeated the class, you put RP for the first grade, right? We'll go over that in very good detail shortly. And then, of course, in January, you're going to input your fall grades and your winter and spring 2021 in progress courses that you're planning on taking. So in the colleges attended section, as you can see here, you want to put LA Harbor College, right? Los Angeles Harbor College. Did you obtain or are you planning to obtain a degree from this college? Yes, normally our students put yes here. Degree in progress. You want to input when you're going to finish your degree. If you're getting an ADT, you want to put Associate of Arts for Transfer in Communication Studies. as an example, right? And when you're going to finish that degree. So if you finish that degree in spring, you're going to put June 2021. If you finish that degree over summer, you're going to put August 2020. If this is your last semester and you're finishing your degree this semester, you put December 2020. You could check with the counselor to make sure that you have everything that you need to for your degree. You can add other colleges as well. So like I said, you could put Pierce on there if you took one class at Pierce, etc. You just click add a college or university until you put all of your campuses. Now, let's say, for example, I went to Long Beach City College and I ended up signing up for a class, but maybe halfway through the semester, I dropped it with a W. Do I need to include that on my application? Yes, I do. So even if I only took one class there and I dropped it with a W and I don't even have a grade for the class, I still need to include it in the application and add LBCC as a campus that I attended. And then you want to make sure if you're still attending Harbor College, so you put, okay, first semester is the first semester that's listed on your transcript that you ever took a class with us. And then if you still attend that college, you just check a box there. So that way it knows you're still taking classes at Harbor or any other campus for that matter. Okay, and if your campus, okay, I have some students that, this is kind of technical, but just in case any students are listening and they have this kind of concern, some of my students, they attended Cal States that switched midway through from quarter to semester because all the Cal State recently all switched over to semesters. So if you went to a Cal State that started as a quarter system and then moved on to semester system, like sometime in your education there, you're gonna select depending on how many semesters or how many terms you took the most classes in. So if you had 4 quarters on your transcript at Cal Poly Pomona and 2 semesters on your transcript at Cal Poly Pomona, you're gonna indicate that you did quarter system, right? At our college, we're on semester. So that's why for Harbor, we use this example as semester. However, if you went to a campus where you have a combination of quarters and semesters on your transcript, you're just gonna indicate based on which one you have the more of, if that makes sense. I hope it does. We can ask a counselor about it too, and we'll help you with that. And then you also, like I said, you wanna make sure that you refer to your transcript to provide the exact dates of attendance for each campus that you attended. It's very important that it's precise. Okay, the next thing for transcript entry. So in a perfect world, you have up in one tab or one browser your Harbor College transcript, right? And the other browser, you put the windows in half and then you can start typing in each class that you took on your application. So for this student, as an example, they took English 101 and got a substandard grade. On their transcript, it shows that they got an F, but on the bottom, it says grade points not counted, course repeated. So you don't put the original grade there, you put a RP. Now let's say that same semester was a tough first semester. Student also took Math 227 and they got either a D or F, but they got academic renewal. They don't have to put the original grade here. They put AR instead because the course was academically renewed. They still mark it off as transferable. The units would still appear, however, they would mark it off, okay? The next thing is W's, you input the W's. If the class was not transferable, let's say English 28 is not transferable, you don't leave it checked off. When we see the English 101 repeated here, with the A here, that's the grade that they count for you. Now AP and IB scores. Sometimes, actually a lot of my students have AP scores, and mostly AP, not too much IB. But if you have AP scores, you want to include them in the first lines of your transcript. So let's say I have a student that did AP Spanish, AP English, AP US History. So you put all those AP scores here. So course code, you put AP English Language, course title, AP English Language, subject, you put test credit, no subject. And then credits, 3 grade, you put credit and you check it off as transferable. So you want to make sure that you include your AP scores, again, in the first semester at Harbor College, or in your first semester of college, you put them all in the first set of lines, and then below that you put whatever classes you're actually enrolled in at Harbor. But the AP scores always come first from the top. And now honors courses is another one that my students have So let's say a student took English 101. You enter the course, but you want to make sure you include an H at the end. So if it's English 101 honors, you put English 101H, and then your grade, and then transferable. And then note, your transcript will indicate that the class was an honors section as well. That's why we want to make sure that it's notated as an honors class on your transcript entry section too. And that's just for the purpose of it being a match of what's on your transcript. General education courses are the next thing. So on your application, you also want to include that you have your general education done. So that includes Com 101, English 101, English 102, math, for example, and it just pulls from the data that you input on your actual transcript entry section. So for some students, it kind of jumbles up here and it doesn't look correct. So maybe for oral communication, it says blank and it wants you to find one. That's why we also want to make sure that you come in or you join us, via Zoom during a workshop, so that way we can help you input that information here and make sure that everything's correct, because we want to make sure that this is all accurate, because the Cal states this is a minimum admission requirement, is the golden for these classes here. And these classes do need to be completed with a C or higher. You do not want to input substandard grades here. Let's say I got in Com 101, I got a D the first time I took it, and then I'm going to take it again in winter, right? Then I don't want to include the D here from summer. I want to include that I have it planned for winter 2021. Okay, your AP scores that apply for the Golden 4 can also go here. So for example, your AP English language would go there as well. That's why you also want to include your AP scores in the transcript, because that's where it pulls from and that's where you can put it in here. And if you need help determining which AP score counts as a GE for the Golden 4, a counselor can help you review that and input correctly. And then one other thing, do not check off, I am not adding any general education courses. That will not be good, because they are relying on this. This is an admission requirement, is that you have these classes done, or that you will finish them by the end of spring 2021. The next one, academic history continued. You want to make sure that you include your ACT, GMAT, GRE subject, if you happen to have those, right? SAT, anything like that. You click on the add score button. The AP test, you can add up to 10 AP exams to this one here. This is common for my students. A lot of our honor students have AP scores too. Another one that's pretty common, my international students, a lot of the time they'll have IELTS or TOEFL. That's what they use to measure English competence or English proficiency for their embassy interviews and for USCIS. So you want to make sure that you include your TOEFL or your IELTS score in the standardized test section as well, because the Cal states are going to be relying on that too. The next one is supporting information. So you want to include your associate degree for transfer information here. If you're getting an ADT, it'll ask you where you're getting your degree from, which campus, what major, right? So you want to include that. And if you want to apply for EOP, which is like EOPS at Harbor, but at the Cal States, they call it EOP, you're going to input that you want to apply and complete those sections for the EOP. The next one is supporting information. In supporting information, if you do not see the ADT tile appear, so if you're getting an ADT and you don't see that the ADT section appeared in the supporting information quadrant, you need to go back to your extended profile and you need to include that you're getting an ADT. Otherwise, it's not going to count, and then the Cal States are not going to honor the hard work that you put into your degree, okay? It's another reason why a counselor needs to help you just make sure everything's correct before you hit submit. And additionally, applying for EOP is optional. So if you don't want to apply for EOP, I understand. You can just select no, you're not applying to EOP within the EOP tiles. And if you want to, and then you would also include that you're not adding any EOP recommendations if you're not applying. If you are applying, you need to put yes that you are, and you need to add your recommendations contact information. So try to have that ready ahead of time. If you need help accessing the contact information for your EOP recommendations, let us know if we need to look up an instructor's email address, so that way they'll receive the invitation to recommend you. Next, in the supporting information tile, this is what the ADT section looks like. So it'll indicate Harbor College, psychology, and it doesn't let you change that because it's pulling from the extended profile box. But you just confirm that that's what's on there. If it looks incorrect, let us know. You put your Harbor College ID number here. California Community College ID, like I said, we don't issue those at Harbor College, so you can leave that blank. And then anticipated or completed degree date. In this example, the student will be finishing this June, so we put June 2021. And then do you or will you have a second ADT from your community college? Most students select no. A lot of my STEM students will have a combination of the math and physics ADT, which is wonderful. Sometimes my students love to learn and they'll have an ADT in psych and an ADT in administration of justice, right? That's okay too, but you want to make sure if you're getting more than one ADT that you include it, okay? Next, the EOP section. Like I said, if you're currently enrolled in an EOPS program, you want to include that here. If you're not, it's okay, you can still apply. And then you can choose to start your EOP application and finish it at the time that you submit your CalState application, or you can come back later to complete the EOP questions. And then additionally, you can choose to come back to the section of the application, like I said before, for EOP, but you should verify the campus application and deadlines. All campuses are accepting EOP transfer applications except for Channel Islands, Dominguez Hills, and Stanislaus. Dominguez Hills does have other perks though, although unfortunately they don't have EOP. They do have the wonderful Transfer to Success program, which is a partnership between Harbor College and the other, Dominguez Hills, Harbor College. Two other campuses participate that are community colleges. However, it's a really good program and my students have said wonderful things about it. Dominguez Hills works really hard to support our students with transfer. And so we still recommend our students apply even if a campus doesn't have EOP. The next thing is the EOP applications do need to be done for the following campuses by November 30th. Excuse me, well, this year it's December 4th. Chico, Fresno, LA, Sacramento, and San Bernardino. And you need to complete all the required questions on the tile in order to save it. And this is what the recommendation request looks like. So it includes the recommender's name, email, the EOP deadline. If you want to make it sooner so that way they'll be, motivated to just finish it quickly, that's okay too. And then personal message to your recommender. So if you have a teacher that hasn't seen you in a long time, maybe you had them your first semester and you're wondering, oh, maybe they forgot me or forgot my name, just in case, you can put your, hi, Professor such and such. This is, I'm getting ready to transfer. I really appreciated your guidance my first year at Harbor. This is my phone number. Please contact me if you have any questions about my recommendation. But it is also a nice idea to reach out to your instructor before they get this recommendation request. So that way they can expect it and that way, you can jog their memory and they can remember you too. And then the next one is the application fee waivers. Like I said before, it does take some time through the application in order for the fee waivers to show if you qualify or not. If you qualify, it'll say that you're getting 404. All of our students get 4 fee waivers as long as they qualify. If you don't qualify, then it'll just show that you are not able to, and you can go back and see like if you input the information correctly or not. The payment section, it is waived if you got the fee waiver. It will ask for the payment. If you did not, you can either pay with e-check, PayPal, or credit card. And like I said, you get 4 per term for the application fee waiver. So for some students, they apply one term and then later on they're like, oh no, I need to apply again for one reason or another. Things don't work out sometimes. It's normally as long as you qualified last time, you get it again the next time around. And then next, mistakes to avoid. You want to make sure that you're using the back arrow before completing and saving a section. You also want to make sure that you do not put in incorrect biographical information related to your name, birth date, citizenship, or address. You also want to make sure that you are not doing an incomplete education history record, and that you're not leaving out any classes, because your classes do need to be a carbon copy of what's on your transcript. And you also do not want to miss out on emails for the application. And the biggest mistake is not having the Transfer Center help review your application, because we are here to make sure that everything looks wonderful and perfect and ready to turn in for you. So please reach out to us and we're glad to help. And then if you have any questions, you're welcome to contact us. This concludes our workshop, but you're welcome to connect with us via the Grad Guru app at LA Harbor College, on Instagram at LAHC Transfer Center, or by phone at 310-233-4282. So thank you so much for students who joined us virtually, and this concludes the recording of our workshop.